There is a corner of the lion's kingdom where conditions seem very harsh, the dry lands. But life has a way of overcoming hardship. There's a green oasis at the heart of these lands. But in other places, water is more precious than gold, and food is rationed. This place is the Kalahari. The Kalahari is called a desert, but it's really a dry grassland. It does get very hot, but the lion is still the king, even if food and water can't be taken for granted. In summer, the temperature can reach 47 degrees Celsius during the day, and in winter can plunge to -13. It does rain, but not often. And most of the Kalahari is flat and covered in sand, so the only things that grow are grass and small acacias. Life for the lions is hard. In the dry season, there's little game, and they may have to wander over hundreds of square miles just to find something to eat. Often, they just go hungry. This is a honey badger, but it's daytime. Isn't that a bit strange? A badger out in the daytime? It's because underneath the dry sands are all sorts of good things to eat, if they can be found. But with its strong digging claws, the honey badger is the bulldozer of the desert. The honey badger's digging raises all sorts of possibilities. A pale chanting goshawk is more than curious. All this action is very interesting. Anything could be rooted out. Lizards, scorpions, or insects. A few leftovers will be much appreciated. Although it eats just about anything, a sweet tooth gives the honey badger its name. If it can find a bee's nest, it will help itself to honey. And it has a tough, thick skin, which makes it impervious to bee stings. The hartebeests have other things on their minds. Teeth and claws that can tear open a log looking for honey can also be used in a fight, as lion cubs sometimes find out the hard way. Honey badgers are renowned for being grumpy. If one gets annoyed, it'll think nothing of taking on something bigger than itself. The jackal keeps his distance. This battle is over territory. The honey badger doesn't care about territory. And, unlike its lion neighbours, it goes wherever it likes. It can have a home range of hundreds of square miles. Nothing much gets in its way. A quarrel with a honey badger is usually a quarrel lost. The Aardwolf, or earth wolf, is not a wolf, but is related to the hyena, although this gentle, timid creature doesn't have quite the gruesome eating habits of its cousins. Aardwolves live in families when the cubs are young, but otherwise keep themselves to themselves. They don't have much to do with the other creatures of the grasslands. Birds like the social weavers just ignore them. Aardwolves don't live in packs because they don't need to. They can find their food everywhere. Like the birds, aardwolves know that these clay mounds contain something nourishing and tasty. The mounds are termite nests, and in one nest there could be more than 50,000 termites. The aardwolf will gorge itself on termites. In fact, it eats little else. But the problem is to catch them outside their fortress. And that's easier said than done. The mounds are baked rock hard by the sun. They can't be opened. So both the birds, who are searching for food for their hungry chicks, and the aardwolf, who's just hungry, just have to be patient. Because sooner or later, some termites will emerge somewhere. They're snouted harvester termites, and the aardwolf can hear them moving. There are more termites on these grasslands than any other creatures, so the aardwolf doesn't usually eat much else. When workers do come out from the fortress, they're guarded by soldiers. The soldiers can defend the workers against enemies, like ants, but they're useless against the aardwolf. These columns of workers are ferrying provisions back to their nest, but workers, soldiers, and their provisions can be gulped down in one mouthful. In one night, the aardwolf could eat 250,000 termites, but it makes little impact on their numbers. There are thousands of these nests all over the grasslands. Because termites don't need crunching up, the aardwolf has small teeth and weak jaws, unlike its bone-crunching relatives. In this part of the lion's kingdom, anything that can be eaten will be eaten. No one can afford to be fussy. This peculiar creature isn't related to anyone. It's an Aardvark. It looks a bit like a pig, but its strange design is for one function only: to eat ants. There's nothing else quite like an aardvark. It's unique in the animal world. It only comes out at night and snuffles around, listening and sniffing for ants. No lion could survive on such meagre rations. When it finds their nest, it has a feast. It doesn't care about their stings. Its skin is far too tough. The aardvark's tongue is long and very sticky, unlike any other animal's. It gulps down the ants without bothering to chew. Its stomach will do the work of digesting them. And its claws, they're made for digging. Its name, after all, means earth pig. It's so strong it can rip out an ant's nest or dig out a termite mound, which most other animals can't do. A desirable residence. A termite mound makes a cool and convenient den in the day. A black-footed cat has claimed it as her family home. It's a safe and secure place to leave her kittens alone at night. With a hungry family to feed, she must spend the night hunting. She has to find enough to feed all of them, herself and her 3 kittens. A gerbil isn't much, but it'll keep her going while she looks for something else. She's smaller than a domestic cat, but twice as fierce. Local people call it the anthill tiger. But what's this? What will that taste like? African hedgehogs live in their burrows in the daytime and come out to feed at night. But the cat doesn't know about hedgehogs. And the hedgehog doesn't care about the cat. This is too good a chance to miss. Anything that lumbers around this slowly is the cat's dream come true. But that wasn't supposed to happen. It wasn't supposed to turn into a pincushion. She'll have to cut her losses. But her kittens are still hungry. They don't understand about hedgehogs either. Cats are no match for sharp quills. Black-footed cats usually have only 2 or 3 kittens. Any more would need too much feeding. But she has nothing to bring them tonight. And when the kittens get hungry, they get irritable. They've yet to learn what an uncertain world it is outside their den. This is a spring hare. It lives in a burrow which it digs out with some help from its friends. They prefer light, sandy soil. It's much less like hard work. The soil they remove is just dumped at the entrance to a burrow system that can run for more than 100 feet underground and 3 feet deep. But for some reason, they keep the exit completely clear. Burrows are popular with other nocturnal creatures, gerbils included. A spring hare could jump up to 15 feet if it wanted to. It isn't a hare at all. It's actually related to squirrels and rats. It looks like a hare, and it has big ears, but that's because it feeds at night. It can listen for danger that could be lurking in the darkness. Lions at night are usually just noisy enough to avoid. Being out in the open is never completely safe. The gerbil can hide in the grasses and carry on eating. But if in doubt, the spring hare heads for home. It helps to be small and inconspicuous and the same colour as the surroundings. But the spring hare has a baby to care for. She only ever has one at a time, and she carries it for 11 weeks. She nurtures it on her own and provides everything for her precious scrap of new life. A strange expedition is getting underway. This porcupine family uses the same route every time it sets out to feed. They stay together as a group. The baby has to do its best to keep up, or it'll be left behind. Some people say porcupines fire their quills like arrows, but that's not true. It's just that their quills are loose and can come out if another animal touches them. Porcupines are vegetarians and will eat most roots and bulbs. But this family has found these summer melons, instant parcels of water and nutrients. They won't bother ground squirrels, but the guard still keeps an eye on them. They come home to their burrow, possibly an old Aardvark hole, which they dig out and alter to suit themselves. The young find feeding quite tricky. They have to find the teats in their mother's bristly fur. Baby porcupines are born complete with their quills, but the quills don't harden for a few hours, which is just as well for their mother. Suricates, or meerkats, are always cautious when they start their daily routine, which keeps them off the lion's menu. There's always someone on guard, but it's not worth taking any chances. Even the babies are careful. But everything seems fine at the moment. The group comes out every morning to spend the day feeding, but suricates have a secret indulgence. They love the sun, And when they're not eating, their favourite pastime is sunbathing. But still, no one gets careless. Danger comes from above. It's a bateleur eagle. The threat often comes from birds of prey, faster and quieter than lions. The lookouts sound the alarm. Is it coming this way? Everyone watches the sky as the enemy flies overhead. But the danger passes this time, and the all clear can be given. Ground squirrels share the suricate's burrows. They gain from the extra lookout system. Young suricates learn from their mothers about safety and eagles and where to find food. But in the desert, everyone wants to know where to find food. They found something over here. So where is it? Knowing where to dig is half the problem. It's not as easy as it looks. Suricates organise their society so that everyone has a role to play, or nearly everyone. Duties could be anything, from lookout to babysitter. Vultures are the waste disposal experts of the grasslands. The remains of a lion kill are an excuse for a neighborhood gathering. There's a queue at the carcass. The big lappet-faced vultures have first go. Not just anyone can help themselves. Gate crashers are not welcome. Big vultures have to gauge how much to eat in one sitting. They might be too heavy to take off. Smaller vultures will wait in a sort of pecking order for the lappet-faced vultures to rip open the hide. Vultures use their eyes to find their food and their nests. They can navigate long distances just by using vision. The bat-eared foxes, on the other hand, listen for their food. Like all foxes, they're curious about everything, and their huge ears pick up the tiny sounds of insects moving on the ground. But these big ears help in a more ingenious way. They act like radiators, getting rid of heat and keeping the fox cool. In this hot, dry part of the lion's kingdom, life is lived close to the edge. Everything depends on everything else. Even majestic herds of wildebeests are only passing through. But if it's dry in the Kalahari, further west is a true desert, the Namib. It's said that the word Namib means endless expanse. This desert isn't as hot as the Kalahari, but there's almost no water. It seems that nothing could live in this desolate corner of the lion's kingdom. Or could it? Life has a way of hanging on, even in the harshest conditions. The scantiest grass is food for someone. Surprisingly, gemsbok live quite happily in this desert. They don't need to drink. They get all the moisture they need from plants. They have tremendous stamina. A gemsbok could run for 10 miles or more without tiring, much further than any lion. But most grazing animals couldn't hope to survive in this forbidding world. And with no water and no food, the lions can never claim this land for themselves. But the Namib is home to more than 200 kinds of beetle that live here and nowhere else. As beetles go, these are fast. Long legs and speed keep their bodies off the hot sand. And this wasp is just as quick at digging out a spider. Scorpions are tough. They can endure hotter temperatures than any other animal in the world. But even they stay out of the sun when they can. They have a strange way of courting in this bizarre dance. A sun spider does look like a spider, but it's only a distant relative. It has bigger jaws relative to its body than any other creature. All sorts of beetles live here in the Namib Desert. These are white-backed beetles. And these are weevils that can spend up to 4 years as eggs, only hatching when the climate is just right. The adults live just long enough to mate and lay more eggs. The Namib Desert stretches all the way to the Atlantic coast, and these sea mists are the only source of moisture. Everything depends on the morning dew. This little beetle collects and drinks the water that condenses on its body. And this plant is like no other. Because it has such deep roots, it can live for 2,000 years. It's a welwitschia plant, and over the centuries the leaves split and curl, so it looks as though it has many more than just 2. Desert plants are among the toughest in the world. This is a sidewinder, and it has a strange way of moving. This keeps the snake's body clear of the scorching sand as much as possible. Lots of other snakes that live in deserts do this. It stops them getting burned. The chameleon needs a scratchy bush to get at those difficult patches. Shedding skin takes time. Everything here must be able to survive the searing desert heat, and any way of staying out of the sun is a relief. A small patch of shade is enough. The chameleon won't go anywhere until it's done with the bush. And when the sun gets too much for it, the sidewinder just sinks into the sand. It takes less than a minute to disappear. At night, something else lurks under the sand. And it eats geckos. Golden moles can swim through the sand like water. The gecko isn't quite so comfortable with this idea. Golden moles actually hunt from below. The sand gets everywhere, even in eyes. But a golden mole doesn't have eyes, or none to speak of. It uses hearing and touch to find its way in the world. The gecko is on shifting sands. Any time now would be a good time to leave. In the unforgiving world of the desert, nothing gets wasted. A brown hyena, or strand wolf, has jaws that can crunch up bone, and it's one of the few animals that can break the shell of an ostrich egg. An ostrich egg is so strong that if it's positioned in a certain way, it could support the weight of a man without breaking. It's a valuable prize. It contains liquid food, and any liquid in the desert is bonus. But hyenas don't bother with please and thank you. Not only can hyenas crunch up bone, they can digest it. They squabble a lot, but live together in packs. They travel around in gangs to find odd bits of food for scavenging. They know who's a friend and who is an enemy, and everyone knows their place by touch, smell, and signals. Stealing eggs isn't as thrilling as hunting, but it's a living. But here's a strange thing. A desert full of water. To the north of the Kalahari, a river tries to flow to the sea, but can't. The Okavango swamp is in fact an inland river delta. The waters of the Okavango River are blocked, so they flood. A huge oasis forms in the middle of the dry lands. And where there's water, there's life. Animals that eke out a living in the dry deserts thrive here in the lush greenery. It's so wet in places that a marsh forms. Waterbirds set up home on the floating vegetation that covers a pond. This is a jacana, or lily trotter. The chicks don't have big enough feet to walk across the lilies yet, so they have to be carried, tucked up safely inside their mother's breast feathers. The adult birds have long, splayed toes that spread their weight. The only bits of the chicks that show now are their feet, dangling down. The richness of the Okavango is a concentration of the amazing number of different animals that live in the lion's kingdom. Kudus are content to graze alongside zebras. And impalas share the open grassland. There's so much more greenery here that no one goes hungry. Even a herd of elephants can find plenty to eat, and no one has to travel very far to find it. Elephants can live in the Kalahari, but here they have more choice of food, with grass, leaves, and trees within easy reach. The Okavango Delta is a natural focus for the wildlife of Africa. The spotted hyena is an animal with a gruesome reputation, but they have a gentle side. Hyenas make devoted mothers. They live in big clans of 100 or so. In this society, the females are in charge, and the baby hyenas are protected by everyone. The hyenas communicate by complicated messages and signals. They recognize each other's distinctive smells and know who's in charge and who's out of favor. Like a gang in a city, they have their own patch. But here, it can be as big as 100 square miles. They stake their claim by scent graffiti, daubing smells on the ground. They find everything they need in their patch, whether hunting big animals for themselves or scavenging from others' hard-earned kills. In sufficient numbers, they will even steal from lions. There's a state of uneasy truce with their neighbours, the vultures. There's no grace or ceremony at these banquets. Hyenas aren't intimidated by the vultures, and the vultures seem to ignore the hyenas. Hyenas are usually outnumbered. The vultures are quicker to get to the kill. Still, hyena jaws can crunch up the parts that beaks can't reach. The party inevitably attracts the usual hangers-on. Quarrels break out when it gets too crowded. Jackals eat most things, but they're not proud. They won't miss a chance at a big carcass. It's a dare, a try for a bit of meat. It's not as easy as it seemed. The jackal might have been a bit optimistic. Where there's luxurious grass, there's a wealth of grass seed, and huge flocks of qualia can feed on these riches. There are millions of birds in this flock. They come to the water to drink. It's the one attraction that draws everyone together. These are the masters of organized hunting. They have their lifestyles down to a fine art. African wild dogs rest in the middle of the day. There's nothing to be gained by rushing about in the heat. Every one of these dogs has different markings, as unique as fingerprints. They set up a base camp near water that acts as a sort of headquarters for the pack. When the dogs are resting, their prey just ignores them. Wildebeests know there's only trouble if the dogs start to move. Wild dogs hunt in a pack, and until the signal is given, everything just waits. Except the qualia. They're always hungry. One male and one female rule this entire group. It's too hot to do anything much. These guinea fowl find their food by just pottering around. Everything they need is on the ground in front of them. Guinea fowl scratch around like chickens, turning up the hard earth to see what they can find. But as it gets cooler, there's a tension in the air. Things are starting to move. Even the warthogs are more active. Their fierce tusks are only for defense. Warthogs eat grass. Now, the wildebeests can sense that the dogs are getting ready for action. The hunting party is moving out. Unless the dogs are desperate, wildebeests are a bit big to tackle. Something on its own is more their style. They've left all the youngsters behind at the base camp with just a few babysitters. Everyone else joins in the hunt. The dogs have incredible stamina. They'll chase their quarry in a group, wearing it down by sheer exhaustion. They use tenacity, where a lioness uses muscle. When the lead dogs get tired, others take over, like a relay. It seems a cruel world where life can only come from death. This balance is fragile. The pendulum swings between hunter and prey. The only rule in the lion's kingdom is survival, and a new generation takes strength from the old.